I just want to give a quick thanks to the Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Sergeant Puma, Cat Crab Lobster, and Duck Machine. Thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. Story number 1. The Puzzle, written by AC1308. Okay, that's weird. I looked around. Most people think the most exciting phrase in science is, "Look at my new discovery." But in fact, it is along the lines of, that's weird. A new discovery isn't a new discovery until it's been differentiated from all old discoveries. And to do that, one has to notice something strange about it. What's weird? I wandered over to where Maria was driving our new scanning electron microscope, like Mario Andretti, on a rainy track. She didn't look up from the eyepieces. We got so much samples in the Bajocian dig in Libya, they reported some kind of discontinuity right in the middle of the layer, so I said I'd check it out. Okay, so far I'm on the same page, I said. The Bajocian age had fallen slap bang in the middle of the Jurassic period, covering a 2 million year stretch from about 170.3 million years ago to 168.3 MA. I remembered that it was named after the Latin name for bayou. Yep, same as tapestry. It was mainly defined by the fossils of a particular type of ammonite. So, what caught your eye? There's definitely a discontinuity here, she said, still concentrating. If I'm not much mistaken, it's about 10,000 years deep. I blinked, impressed. 10,000 years was barely a blip on the radar when it comes to paleontology. We had rounding errors bigger than that. So, what's it made up of? A local meteor strike? A volcanic eruption that knocked out the local wildlife for a few millennia? I don't want to say what it looks like before you see it for yourself. This didn't sound like Maria at all. Normally, she was as hard-charging as anyone you'd ever meet. But she stood away from the eyepieces and waved me into place. So I stepped in and fitted my eyes into the microscope. At first, I wasn't sure what I was seeing. It wasn't the normal run-of-the-mill fossils, to be sure. But then, as I touched the controls, I found myself zooming in on one point and another, and a picture started emerging. My breath caught in my throat. Do you see it too? Maria's voice sounded like it was coming from far away. I looked again, then moved the microscope to a different section. It hadn't been a fluke. Slowly, I took my face away from the eyepieces and looked at Maria. Tell me right now if this is a joke or a hoax, and I'll overlook it, I said, my voice unusually harsh. Then I'll want to know how you pulled it off. It's not. She was hugging herself. 100% genuine. All that dating techniques check out. Well, crap. I took a deep breath. So, which of us gets to go to the director and tell him that we've located a high-tech circuit board, complete with capacitors, in the middle of a rock that's supposed to be 170 million years old? How about we don't? Maria's voice was speculative. I frowned. What? We don't tell him. Maria gestured fluidly. Think about it. No matter how we report this, we'll automatically get called fakers and hoaxers by about half the scientific community. Then there's the crazies who'll mob us looking for proof of ancient gods, time travel, the flat earth, and who knows what else. Our careers will functionally be gone. Her logic was impeccable, but I had to know what she was thinking. So, what do you say? We sit on this, the greatest discovery of the age. Do we destroy it? She made a sharp gesture of negation. No, we keep it. We study every aspect of it, and we try to gather more. We investigate this under the table until we understand it. Only then, and not before, do we tell anyone. I nodded slowly. Having my career go down the drain was not my ideal plan. Okay then, let's do this. 10 years later. Okay, ready. Maria stepped back behind the makeshift blast shield. Recorders running. I nodded and entered the final commands. We'd reverse engineered the temporal drone from the fossilized remains of the one we'd found in the Libya dig. The timer ticked down while I joined her behind the shield. As the numbers hit 0, the drone soundlessly vanished like a movie special effect. 1.3 seconds later, it reappeared in the exact same spot. I had programmed that interval in so that we'd know that it'd been gone. We retrieved the video chip and plugged it into the player. Seconds later, we were watching a sound and video that nobody had seen before. Authentic imagery of the Jurassic period. I looked at Maria, and she looked at me, and we high-fived. "We need to build more drones," I said. "What? Why?" I shrugged. "Well, we know we're going to lose at least one." She got a more speculative look on her face. "No, this was designed somewhere. We didn't design it, we just found it. Where did it actually come from?" That was the big question. Up until then, I'd blithely assumed that we'd found one of our own, but of course, we hadn't. How could we have? So, what I have to ask myself is, who sent the drone back that crashed in the middle of the Bogosian age and supplied us with the tech? Who built it? Was it you? End of story. Story number 2. The First Race, Humanity. Written by Archangel 98. An ancient species, larger than life, and so long-lived. Each of their kind can survive longer than several generations of my species, and because of this, they were the first race in the galaxy to develop. Their history, vast and endless as it may seem, is well documented, and in it is the beginnings of the most sentient species the galaxy has recorded. In fact, several of the races most common amongst the stars were created by humanity. I don't mean they grew us in vials from amino acids and loose strands of DNA, but rather they took what already existed and nurtured us until we were strong enough to stand on our own. They had done this countless times with the creatures of their own world, creating familial bonds with lesser creatures and making them a part of their lives and families. My species, Canis sapien, was the first that humanity elevated. We had our genomes altered and perfected until we resembled our masters, although they do dislike it when we refer to them that way. But it's hard not to think of them as divine or as some kind of creatures when they are so different from us. They stand so much taller, think so much faster, and see the world through eyes that are so unique. After they created us, they began to seed other star systems with pre-made genetic samples so that even after the last of their kind takes its final breath, their work will still continue in some form. One by one, they found or made more races, adding them to the galactic alliance that they were building. It was meant to be a kind of interstellar community. Eons passed, and humans became an increasingly rare sight amongst the cosmos. Some developed ships to fly to other galaxies. Some died, but most simply succumbed to the great equalizer, time. They lived on average 5 times longer than most of the races, and equal to only 2. But as hard as they tried, they were not immortal. Their genetic code was degrading after centuries of editing and rewriting it. Most humans decided that being human was a state of mind and altered their genomes so that the decay did not affect them. But they were not recognizable as true humans anymore. Some, however, decided that they wanted to stay how they were and resolved themselves to fade away into the voids of time with dignity. There is less than 10,000 known humans now, and fewer every day. But they, to me, still look as angelic as the first time I laid eyes upon them. Many of the races that humanity had created began searching for methods to aid them, but nothing of merit ever came to fruition. We welcome what was left of them into our home, our families and lives, with open arms for their final days. My family has always had a human for as long as any of us could remember. His name was Michael. According to our pack's records, his family and ours had been together for longer than my race had existed as we are now. Once, his family took ours in as their own children, and now, in their final days, we are honored to take care of one of them. Michael was the last of his lineage. He had no offspring, no spouse, but he never complained. He was growing ill, but never once did he lose his smile. I walked up and sat beside his bed with water and some food for him. "Hey, buddy," he said, and placed a gentle hand on my neck. It was a sign of love for humans to hold and touch each other. Michael removed his hand and laid it slowly back down on his bed. He was dying, slowly. He'd been for a very long time. I talked to him for a while, made sure that he had eaten the food I had brought him earlier, and checked on his condition before he drifted off to sleep. Michael died that night, and we mourned the end of an era for our pack. Humans were dying, but in the hearts and minds of all of us, their children, they would live forever. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed.